Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to share all the resources to learn Sorani Kurdish that I found so far. So it's one of those languages that you will struggle to find materials in because there's no Google Translate, there's no Duolingo app, there's no Teach Yourself series, there don't seem to be many textbooks around. And so it's one of those languages that's quite difficult to get started with per guide. So I'll also be talking about the scripts used in Sorani Kurdish, a little bit about the grammar, and other than that I want this video to really be one place where you can find access to anything you need to know if you're thinking of starting to learn Sorani. So I hope you do start learning Sorani because it's a brilliant language. And so before we get started, just to let you know, I've put timestampers in the descriptions below. So if you want to skip forward to any of the sections on resources, so for example, the books available, Memrise Courses, or any of the apps, because I'm giving reviews in this video as well of some of the things, just click on the timestamper and it will take you straight to that section. So Sorani is one of the languages of Kurdistan. There are many languages in Kurdistan, so it's important to know this before you start learning. And Kurmanji is the biggest language, and that's written in the Latin script, and that's mainly because it's spoken in Turkey, and so the language has been Latinized, similar to the Turkish alphabet actually. And Sorani is still written in the Persian-Arabic script. So the Sorani alphabet is different to both Persian and Arabic, but it shares many of the letters the same. So it's important to know that Kurmanji and Sorani, so those are the two biggest languages in Kurdistan, making up a total of about 30 million people or more. Those two languages are not mutually intelligible. So for example, not only is Kurmanji written in the Latin script, but it has gender, so it has masculine, feminine and neutral, and Sorani doesn't have this. Another difference is that in Kurmanji the nouns are declined with case endings, so this is similar to Slavic languages, for example, where you have different case endings according to the context. So I have Sorani friends and Sorani speaking friends, and they say that they can only understand about 70% of Kurmanji, which is quite interesting. So that's some of the differences between the two languages, and even within Sorani itself there are regional variations and regional dialects. So I cover this a bit later on when I talk about YouTube channels, and there's a good YouTube channel by somebody called Camo Araz, and he talks about these different regional variations. So I'm on Kurdish Central website, which is a good place to start when you're learning Kurdish Sorani because it has lots of info on here, and lots of links to other websites. On this website we have what they call a reading exercise. Basically it's the alphabet, so there are 34 letters in Sorani. Here they are, and some of them are unique to Sorani. So for example, this double looks like a 99. It's in Arabic, the single one of this has a wow sound, like w sound, but this unique sound in Sorani is like a double, an extended wow sound. So we'll go through some of the letters down here, and especially some of the different ones. So in Sorani there seem to be a lot more vowels than in other languages. So I'm going to go through the vowels first. I'm going to pick them out with the different sounds. So you have this one, so it's almost like a shortened E sound. And then you've got A. So that's a long A. And then there's these glottal sounds that exist in Arabic as well. It's almost like a vowel, but it's actually consonant really. It's almost like a French. Almost like a French sound. And then you have this sound. So this letter is different in that it doesn't join on to other letters around it. So this, you can see here you have O, which is he or she or it, and it's like U, three vowels together. O. This is what I like about Kurdish. There's lots of different kind of diphthong type sounds. This is U. Ooh, so you can hear that woo is a longer woo sound. And then there's another kind of woo sound here coming up. Whoa. So almost like a U and an A together, or a U and an O and an A. Whoa. This is the word for ice. Sahol. So the ong sound is before an L sound at the end here. And then two more vowels. E. Yeah. So as you can see, lots of kind of combination type sounds in vowels. Let's go through some of the consonants that are different. So you've got this sound, pe, which doesn't exist in Arabic. This is how you can tell if you're reading Sorani or Persian, because they use the P sound as well in Persian. This che doesn't exist in Arabic either. So you can see you've got three dots here instead of the one, which is the che sound. Che and che. And then be and pe up here. Be, pe. Right, this is a normal R sound. Re. But there's an extended R, which is like a rolled R. Re. I can never say my rolled R's. Drau. That's a tear in the fabric, apparently. Drau. So that is written with a little V above the top. So this is how you can tell if you're reading Sorani script. If you see little V's above the characters, you're definitely reading Sorani. This is a different one as well. Je. So it almost sounds like a French sound. It's a je, like slightly at the back of the throat. She. So you've got se, she. So that's a different one as well. And then this is a new sound as well. In Arabic, you don't have a g sound. So this is k. So this is kitab. And this is a g sound. So it's distinguished with another line above. G. So you've got k. So kitab and manga, ga, manga. So that's the word for a cow. And then there's the L sound, le. And then there's a double L sound, la. So this is almost like a bit like a Russian sound to me. Tablak, la. Pshila. So the L, first L is said at the front of the mouth, like a labial, le. And the l is said more at the back of the throat, back of the mouth. Tablak. Okay, I think that's all the letters that are different. So 34 letters to learn. A good place to start with resources for Kurdish Sorani is this guide to basic Kurdish grammar, which was written by Daniel H. Kim, and it was written about 10 years ago in 2010, and it's available to download, so the link is below in the description. And it's about 100 pages long, and it has a great introduction to explain the Kurdish language and how Sorani is in relation to other Kurdish languages, and it explains the alphabet very clearly and some of the quirky features of the alphabet. The first chapter is written in using the Romanised script, so you don't have to know the Sorani script to follow the first part of this document, but you will later on because everything is in Sorani. So if you're intending to use or to learn the language with the Romanised script, then this document won't be any good for you. But I still do recommend you reading the preface because it's quite interesting about some of the grammar pointers and some of the pronunciation indications. So this is a really good guide. And then when it gets into the grammatical units, that's when it starts using the Sorani characters or Persian-Arabic script characters. So you will have to know how to pronounce them, or in order to read them. But this is a great guide because it's really well laid out, explains different aspects of the grammar, and it's been checked over, and the Kurdish in here is very good. My Italki teacher is very good at giving feedback on these things, and he said this is a very good document, whereas other things I've shown him, there are sometimes mistakes in the transcription. But I guess because this is all in the Sorani alphabet, there won't be any mistakes in it. This is another online free download, and it's Sorani Kurdish, a reference grammar with selected readings by W.M. Thackston. And this is another guide that's about 100 pages long. The difference between this and Kim's guide is that this gives Romanised versions of the Sorani alphabet. You can get by with this. This guide goes into grammar detail a bit more, so you can see from the contents list that there's a lot more detail in this one. This is a Kurdish phrase book by Nicholas Auld. On the front you can see here Sorani, but the book is actually all in the Latin or Romanised script. So it has all the usual categories that you'd expect in a phrase book, like directions, travel, food and drink, accommodation. And there's a little dictionary at the back, English to Sorani, Sorani to English. This book, unfortunately, does have some mistakes. So in the first place, in the introduction, it mentions that there are 15 million Sorani speakers, and there are only about 10 million approximately. Then the alphabet is listed, and there are 33 alphabet characters listed in here, but there are actually 34 in the alphabet. So small things like that in this phrase book make it not 100% reliable, but it is generally good because it's one of the only ones that exist. So it's better to have something than nothing. Some of the other mistakes in here are to do with vocabulary. So, for example, the word for down in here has been taken from Persian rather than Sorani. Other than that, it's not bad. The way the alphabet has been transcribed into Latin or Romanised form is different to other texts that I've read. So let me just explain something before we move on. I keep talking about how Sorani can be transcribed differently from one book to another, from one document to another. So I'm just going to give you a few words and you'll see what I mean. So Slav, min, nacher, balam. This book is Hilmi's Kurdish reference book. It's called A Complete Teach Yourself and Reference Manual for Beginners. It's 500 pages long, and again it's printed in the UK, but unfortunately this book is out of print. So I don't want to go into great detail about this book because you probably won't be able to get it. But this book has prompted me to talk about a few different things to do with the Kurdish Sorani language. So in this book there's an introduction of about 40 pages, and it's a really good comprehensive history of Kurdistan, about the literature of Kurdistan, the languages. Hilmi wrote this book in 2000, so it's 20 years ago now, and he recommends that this language should be learnt in the Latin script. So again, this one is with Latin Romanised characters. His argument for this is that he thinks that Sorani should be available to the international world, so that it would make it better for trade, for commerce, and to put Sorani speaking area of Kurdistan on the map, because Kurmanji is already written in the Romanised script, because Kurmanji is spoken in Turkey, and that's how the script is in Turkey. But after this book was produced, Sorani did become an official language of Iraq, about 2005 I think it was. So perhaps if he would have written it later, he may have changed his mind and written it in the Sorani script. The other thing this has prompted me to say is that when you're learning Sorani, if you do learn it in the Latin script, then you'll find that because Sorani is a language that uses a lot of suffixes that tie onto words, so you will find it written with lots of hyphens to denote where the suffix begins and the root of the word ends. So this book has lots of this going on. I'll just show you a page, for example. So this is the only physical dictionary I have, and it was compiled by these two guys, and it's printed in India. And I'm going to be brutally honest, it's not a very good dictionary. So I'll just give you an example. So I was looking up the word for visit in here, and I found the word visit, which is Serdan. So in Kurdish, the infinitives of the verbs are written in the past tense. So like kirdin is to do. So it's like kirdin actually means did. So if you look up something in a dictionary, it's useful to know that you'll get the past root of the word. So that's fine. So that was Serdan, and this is written in both in the Persian-Arabic alphabet and in the Latin alphabet. So that's good. But on the same page, some of the entries are things like vigour in grappling and vital vein or nerve. So I don't really need to know those. So it just seems like somebody's taken a whole list of things they feel that you ought to know put in a dictionary, and they've listed them and just gone from one language to the other. There are no explanations in here. There are no phonetic pronunciation pointers, and there are quite a few basic words missing. So I was trying to look up some other basic verbs, and they weren't even in here. So I honestly can't recommend this book, but it's good for a laugh if you fancy looking up vigour in grappling, which is helmeti. I'll never forget that now. I'm on the KurdishDictionary.com, and here you can translate between Sorani, Kurmanji and English, and there are a few other languages here as well. But there is no Google Translate app for Sorani yet. So this is probably about the best you'll find online. So I'll show you how this works. So you choose from Sorani to English or English to Sorani. So I'm going to do English to Sorani, and I'm going to type in the word apple and see what comes up. So the word for apple is so. So yeah, so that's come up. That's fine. Nothing else here. No other explanations or descriptions. So we'll try something else. Let's try the word for man, which is more of a general word. So the word for man is piao. So what's come up here? We have got man here, which is the second entry down. But meanwhile, we have other things here as well. So this is piao. So this is man. But it's given you phrases here: strong men, mild man, work like a man, which is quite good actually. You can, it's the kind of thing you would expect to find in a dictionary. It's not arranged completely logically here because these bits here have come to the top. So these phrases, provided with hands of a crew, man of ship. If you want to search for something the other way round, so you select Sorani to English, and there is a keyboard feature on here, so you can type in the Sorani script. So if I want to look up Kiddadin, let me type that in and see what comes up. So So that's Kiddadin. I'm going to see if it works this way round. Okay, so it's come up with practice, commit, to do. There it is there. So it does work. It does work. On the English side, it doesn't recognise if you put two words in, but I think it does work if you put a couple of words in Sorani, if those words are connected to each other. So with a lot of verbs in Sorani, they are compound verbs. So like, for example, mach kiddadin is to kiss. This Kurdish keyboard seems to be the best keyboard app for a phone that's available. I don't have it on my phone personally because my phone doesn't have enough space and my phone's a bit ancient, a bit like me really. But a couple of my Sorani friends have this and they say it's quite good. It's been updated recently as well, so it's the 24th of June today, and I think this was updated last week on the 17th of June. It has 4.8 out of 5, so that's a good indication. And there are a lot of Kurdish names here giving it the thumbs up, so that's a good sign. So I think this is the one to recommend rather than going through a whole load of other phone apps. I think the problem is sometimes these apps get updated and they start introducing ads and glitches to them, and they become unusable. That's something that was okay before when it had less features to it. So this one seems to be the best one, so we'll go with this one, and the link is below in the description. It's produced by Mohammed Kanal Jamal Tools, and here are the specs for it if you want to have a look. This is Kamo Aras's YouTube channel, and he has a lot of videos on here for learning Kurdish Sorani. They are quite interesting videos to watch. Some of them are quite long, and he gives a lot of description in them, so you have to watch through to pick out what you want to learn. But they're put together in an interesting way. It's almost like being in a classroom with a teacher who goes off on a tangent sometimes. But there are specific videos, so if you want to know about language greetings, this one, subject pronouns, word order, and he does explain the grammar quite well, and also the different accents or dialects. So he'll talk about the Slemani dialect, which is interesting. One of his videos is really useful. It's 100 useful phrases in Sorani. And he's also a musician, so some of his other videos are to do with music. But he also posts a lot of videos actually in Sorani. So if you're at a later stage, more advanced stage, or even if you just want to listen to them and not understand, to try to absorb a bit of the language, then you can watch or listen to those in the background. This is Samad Kinani's YouTube channel. There are a number of videos on this channel. They've been on here for 8 or 9 years, and they've had quite a few hits. Some of them have low sound quality, so you have to turn the volume up a bit to hear what's going on. He also has a Facebook group. I'm not sure if he's very active in it, because I think I've joined this group and not had much activity going on there. But the videos are worth watching because, again, like Kamo Araz's YouTube channel, the grammar is explained quite well, and there are lots of videos on this particular channel. So if you want to know about the weather, so there's a full playlist here that you can go through. This YouTube channel is called Everything About Kurdistan, and it has some teach yourself Sorani videos on here. So here's one of them, Learn Sorani Kurdish. I think there are only 4 videos on the actual channel, so there aren't too many, but it's a good place to start because they're quite funny videos with a little cartoon. And there's Azad, and he wants to teach you some Kurdish. So the 4 videos are worth watching. It's a start, and then you can have a look at his other videos. So I'm on Italki, and I've selected Kurdish. I want to learn Kurdish, and 4 teachers have come up on the search here. So 3 of the teachers are situated in Iran, and 1 is in the UK. And they're all native Sorani speakers, which is great. And Shamak is the one who's been on Italki for the longest. He's my teacher, and I can definitely recommend him. He's a very good teacher. He's very patient, he's good at explaining things, his level of English is very good, and he also speaks Persian, Farsi, as he lives in Iran. These prices here are not necessarily what you pay, because that could be how much he charges to teach English or Persian, so you can find that out yourself. The other teachers on here also seem to be good. Jamal is also in Iran, and he has a teaching qualification, so he's a professional teacher. And Kava Kurda is a new teacher on Italki, and he's a British guy, but he's Kurdish diaspora, so obviously he speaks fluent Sorani. And then there's a younger guy called Amir, who also. So what I recommend you to do is look at the videos first of these people, and look at their profiles and see what sort of interests you about the person. You can always contact them beforehand as well. You can just send them a message and say that I'm interested in learning. I've got this level. Can you help me? And how do you teach? So the problem with Sorani is because of lack of teaching materials. I think the teachers have to be creative. So Shamak is very good at explaining the quirkiness of the grammar, and he highlights all the grammar points to me. So that's really good. I'm really pleased with this particular teacher. So I'm on Memrise now, and I've pinned a few Kurdish Sorani courses here for you to have a look at. The first one is if you want to learn Kurdish in the Latin script. So this one has audio as well, and it's a good course in that it starts off with all things like the pronouns and all the basic vocabulary. But I'll just show you some of the vocabulary lists. So like Slav, hello, Choni. Now the thing with romanizing this language is that there are so many different ways to spell because it's open to interpretation. So for example, like even Slav is written with two L's here, and some forms you'll see it as just S-L-A-V, S-I-L-A-V, and the same for Choni as well, because Choni is actually, should really be Chonit. It's the long version of the word, and Choni is like a shortened version of how are you. So another one is Nacher. I've seen N-A-K-H-E-R, N-A-X-E-R, N-A-X-H-E-R. So my advice really is to learn in the Sorani script if you can. Otherwise, just be aware that if you go from this to another learning material, that you might get confused. Right, and this course is the most popular on Memrise. It's called Kurdish Sorani Dialect, Iraq-Iran. It doesn't have audio. So I think there are 500 entries, 555 as opposed to 200 in the previous course. So this is quite good, but you do need to know you do need to know the Sorani scripts for this one, because everything's in Sorani. Okay, this one is probably the one that I've used the most because it has audio and it has the Sorani script as well. Yeah, so side by side you have the Romanised and the Kurdish script. You can already see that Slav here is written S-L-A-W, and in one of the other courses it was S-L-L-W, or was it S-L-L-A-W? I'm not sure, but there are so many different ways to transcribe this language, which is annoying actually, but interesting. So you can see it's got both the words side by side, which is great. Utalk is available for Sorani as well. There are some mistakes in this app as well with the vocabulary and with some of the way it's transcribed. Like for example, I noticed the same word is spelt differently from one exercise to another. If you want this app just for listening practice though and helping you with your pronunciation, it's quite good. And I made a video on this earlier in the year, so here's a few little excerpts from that. I've paid for a month subscription to Kurdish Sorani, which was £5.99. So when you've paid for the course, all these lessons underneath, topics, become available, so you can do them in any order you like. Click on this. So here are all the words, all the phrases and words. Okay, so it shuffles them up. So you have to pick out Tawleti Jnan, which is ladies' toilet. Next section is hard game. So this is picking the cards, and it gets harder and harder.
ويسكي شمن نفر
ويسكي شمن نفر
ويسكي شمن نفر
بلد خوش
Do is to, sounds very much like to. This is Glossika, and it's an app you can use for learning language, and it's available in Kurdish Sorani. If you want to upgrade, I think it's quite expensive, this app, so I'm just on the free version at the moment, and basically it's a listening app, and it's good, I think, if you're not an absolute beginner. Well, I'll show you one of the lessons and you'll see what I mean. So you get 5 new sentences come up, and this is all in the Sorani script. So if you want to learn in the Romanised script, it's not available in Glossika, you'd have to choose another language. So let's start and see how it works. Some of the phrases are said very fast, but that's good because it trains your ear to listen for words.
She's watching TV. أو خريجي سيكوني تلفزيونه.
It's really fast, isn't it?
أو خريجي سيكوني تلفزيونه. Are your parents watching TV? بأكو باوك خريجي سيكوني تلفزيونه. بأكو باوك خريجي سيكوني تلفزيونه. They're at home. أوان لمالن.
I'm just going to pause this a second. So you can see here you have the pronunciation as well. And with the Romanization version in Glossika, it puts the double L, like similar to an L in Polish, with the L crossed through, because this is the double L in Sorani. And then you have this vowel, which is O. So it does this like a back to front E. I've seen this in some African languages like Twi, where it's a sort of a vowel between A and E.
أوان لمالن.
Oh, and Lamalam.
أوان لمالن. Do you forget the answer? والله ما كلا بيشوتو. والله ما كلا بيشوتو.
So another app is Bluebird 163, and I haven't got any screenshots for that, but it's quite a good app in that you can customize your own courses on there. So if you go on, select Sorani Kurdish, you can either start learning from the beginning and learn all the way through up to advanced, or you can start at an intermediate level if you already speak some of the language, or you can just choose different vocabulary modules. So if you're not interested in shopping or cinema, you can disable those ones, or you can just select everyday greetings. So you can customize your own course, and then once that course is ready, you can actually download it as a PDF document if you want to. So you can make flashcards with those vocabulary, groups of vocabulary. There are some mistakes in Bluebird 163. My Italki teacher has had a look through, and he spotted a few words that are not actually Sorani. One more thing to mention, because there is a large Kurdish diaspora in Germany, there are a few resources available in German. So this is one book that's a workbook style thing, and I bought it because I like working through these kind of exercises. I think they're really good to help with the language. However, I've noticed some mistakes in here as well. So I haven't actually started the book yet. I need to really have a look later. So I think what I'm going to do is wait till my Kurdish is a bit better and then have a good look through this book and see if it's good. So I didn't talk much about the Sorani grammar or the language itself. but there are a few good links to other videos which will show you that. So namely, the YouTube channels that teach Sorani will teach you the grammar. And there is one very good YouTube video by Langfocus about the Kurdish languages. So thank you for watching this video, and I'd love to hear from you if you are learning Sorani and if you're using any of the resources mentioned, or if you found anything else. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more notifications of videos. Stay safe.